Generally speaking, the accounting department is not going to be responsible for creating very many purchase orders, but they will. It's possible that you will be creating expense POs for rent or electric or whatever it is that you want to create it for. So to do this, we're going to go to accounting payables, and we're going to tell it we want to create a new purchase order or a new refund, depending on what it is we're trying to do. And then we're going to get a list of options. And one of the things that we have here are general expense POs. This is probably one of the only times that an accounting person would be creating a purchase order. And so we're going to go in here and we're going to select general expense PO. We're going to select the supplier that we want to actually pay. Now, this supplier could be an employee. It may be that we're actually doing an expense reimbursement to an employee. So that would be an example of doing this. In this case, let's just pick someone here that we want to write a purchase order to. So we're going to go in and we can select an expense account here. So let's just say that this is, we'll just pick, actually let's go down here to expenses and we'll just pick something. All right, other things we have here are account number information, description, which is really only used for searching. We got invoice numbers. All of this stuff would come into play when we're actually paying the purchase order to help us narrow down the one we're looking for, whether it's a seasonal, regular order, but you don't have those options on an expense. And then your due date information and so forth. We're just going to go ahead and hit next. For the purpose of creating an expense PO, none of this really matters except for the cost, because the cost times the quantity is going to be what gets put in here. So let's just say that this is rent. And it costs, let's say we pay $5,000 a month rent, and we are just going to multiply that times 1 because it's 1 month's rent, and then we'll just say month's rent. Again, none of this really matters on an expense PO. It's just here for informational purposes. We're just going to go ahead and save it. And let's just tell it to use defaults. All right, so and that was departmental stuff there that you don't really need to worry about in this video. If you're not using departmental accounting, you won't see that. And if you are using departmental accounting, then you probably already know what all that was. So at this point, we've got our month's rent, $5,000, and we're just going to go ahead and hit next. And over here, we've got any shipping or additional discounts or anything like that that we may have that we want to put in here. The main thing that we got to make sure that we do before this becomes official is we've got to post this expense. As soon as we hit post, that's what actually makes this a purchase order. Or actually at that point, a payable. So we're going to go ahead and hit post expense. And so now if we view our last purchase order, you can see all the details that we have here that we set up for that particular purchase order. So it's fairly trivial to create an expense PO. It's just a matter of making sure that on that last page that you tell it to post the expense to make it official.